So I'm reading again from the writings of Theolyptus, a 13th century monk, as he wrote in this book now called the Philocalia, which translates into English as a love of beauty or a love of the sacred, which is a great title for it because I really find the writings take you to that place. He says, if you transcend the flow of temporal things and detach yourself from desire for what is transient, which means to discern and understand the nature of this world, that nothing here is permanent. Everything here is only what it is in the play for this particular scene in the play. What does that mean? Well, it means that basically everything here is potting soil, ultimately. You know, whether it's your body right now, here I am, you know, fresh haircut, sitting here by the stream. Come back in 100 years, if I stay here, you'll just find a bucket of potting soil right where I am. Your favorite car, your favorite house, your favorite lover, your favorite book, all of these things in time will become potting soil. And so he's saying if you can manage through discernment to withdraw yourself from these things that are trapped within this flow of time, he says, then you will not notice mundane objects or crave for the delectable things on earth, which is really what the Christians refer to as slavery and what in the Vedanta we call bondage. And why is it bondage? Because things of the sensual world, things of the temporal world, the changing world, because of their nature, they cannot feed you. You always need more, you always want more. And quite often, for those bigger desires, you know, the pleasure impulse, it gets more and more particular the more and more you feed it, but you're always hungry for it. And so you get into this cycle where you're constantly having to find it and having to go get it. So that's that bondage that we talk about, getting stuck in these cycles of life. He says, though, that if you're able to withdraw your mind from this temporary nature of things, from the things of this temporal world, and detach yourself from that desire, he says you won't notice these things. They won't grab you. They won't have that power over you. He says, on the contrary, supernal visions will be disclosed to you, and you will contemplate celestial beauty and the blessedness of an unfading reality. You know, that spiritual eye opens. You know, the Hindus like to talk about it being right there, you know, this third eye. It's a spiritual awareness where things spiritual take on a greater substance or a greater reality than this ever-changing show or movie going on through the senses around us. To the person who hankers after material things and who steeps himself in these sensual pleasures, the heavens are closed, meaning that eye is not open. You're not even able to see it. And I can attest to this from the different periods in my life as I've studied these spiritual things. Even a single scripture, you can read it in one state of mind and it means one thing. But 20 years later, you can come back to that very same scripture and read it with all of those hours of practice behind you. And it opens up a vista of a much deeper, much more beautiful vision or truth than what you were able to see when you began. So he says that your eyes will be open to this, you'll be able to see. But he who scorns the material things and repudiates them through discernment, through thinking about what they really are, exalts his intellect and perceives the glory of eternal realities and the luminosity of the saints. You perceive that light in their eyes, someone who has touched a love that is unconditioned, completely free of judgment, you know, that's just open to anyone who comes to it. Such a person is filled with divine love and becomes a temple of this divine spirit. He aspires to do the will of the divine. Why? Because he finds a unity between himself and the divine will. When we separate out this confusion that's built into our understanding of ourselves through this temporary, ever-changing reality, and through our cycles of bondage, of desire, and our pursuit of pleasures, those things change our mind, change the structure of the way that we think, and we don't see ourselves as present in the moment, full and free, living a life literally in an Eden. I mean, look around me. This is beautiful. This is a momentary manifestation of the divine, ever-changing. But if you don't see the divine through it, all you see is the constant birth, sustenance, and death. Nothing remains. Nothing is important. It's all transient. But by seeing it and knowing, looking at the divine behind it all, looking at the pure love in each other, recognizing that as our nature, we aspire to do the will of the divine And we are guided by the spirit of this inner love, this inner God, this divinity, which is everywhere present. Being granted divine sonship, blessed by God and conforming to Him, for all who are guided by the Spirit of God are sons of God. It's to step into that relationship, really ultimately with yourself. But in this moment of confusion where we think that we are this small self, when we've held on to the identities given to us by this temporal changing world, or picked out by us is a much better way of saying it. If we can renounce those and fall into silent mind and become aware of the divine spark within, life gets great. Life gets really great. And you have an infinite amount of love to share. You won't have to push through your selfishness and your moods, your ups and your downs. You can be a consistently kind and loving person. It's the point of being here, to find out who you are when nothing outside of yourself is defining you. To find that self within, before mind, before body. Therein lies the deepest and the greatest satisfaction. Be free.